Welcome to Caregiver Cast. My name is Mary Elaine Petrucci, your host. My guest today is Kath Mitchell, and she began her coaching career in 2017, but she's also now a caregiver for both her brother and her mother. So she's going to take that spin on her coaching career and kind of turn it into what some caregivers can utilize. So before I formally introduce Kath, I'm just going to give you some background information about her. Kath began her coaching career in 2017 when working with multinational technology teams in the corporate world to help team members communicate better through cultural diversities. She's an international coaching Federation accredited coach and a trauma-informed certified coach. She left her corporate job in 2019 when her brother had a stroke. Prior to Kath taking on the role as caregiver for her brother, she had been her cousin's caregiver patient advocate until her passing in 2016, and is grateful every day that her brother is doing well after switching him to a vegan diet a few months after his stroke. Now he is walking 6 miles per day and practicing daily healthy habits. She is also the decision maker and caregiver for her mom, whose memory is slipping away. She learns to value time in the life stories of those around her. Kath now utilizes her coaching skills and her understanding of caregiving to coach caregivers one-on-one. She will be piloting her caregiver coaching circles in the first quarter of 2022 for those desiring the benefits of coaching in addition to the wisdom and community of like-minded caregiving individuals. Many of her clients have experienced an unexpected life transition, which includes the transition to family caregiver unexpectedly, and her coaching helps her clients connect, engage, and rediscover what is important to them in a safe and trusting environment. For many, this includes understanding their own core values and their boundaries. Having experienced sudden traumatic events herself that forced her own transitions in life, her passion is to truly inspire, educate, and empower clients to be resilient, find their joy, and thrive in today's world. Welcome to Caregiver Cast, Kath.
Thank you so much, Mary Elaine.
It just seems like you are doing it all. So I'm really impressed with you as a caregiver because you're actually providing care. In my experience with my parents, I kind of did it on the side, but I was still quite involved with like their daily and medical needs. So tell us how you have started this journey with your brother, your father, your cousin.
My caregiving journey started back in 2015 when I received a call from my cousin's best friend who said, your cousin needs your help and her brother and her stepdad won't do it or can't do it, or I don't even remember how the conversation went. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. It's like, I'll reach out. And she was in the hospital at the time. Well, once I got there, then I learned she had end stage liver disease, which I did not know anything about. And so that meant learning all about what that was, what that meant, and all the therapies that went along with that. And I thought, okay, I can handle this. I can, get her to a healthy state so she can go back home. Yeah, no, doesn't work that way. And I wore myself out trying. I'm thinking in the back of my brain now, I understood a little bit about caregiving because back in junior high school, I was
Mhm.
one of these that loved to volunteer in the convalescent homes. That's aging myself because I don't think they have convalescent homes anymore. I thought it was great because I loved hearing their stories and connecting with people, you know, who didn't have a lot of family around them. So I was all gung ho for this, but I was working a corporate job. I was, software tech industry, which meant heavy deadlines.
Mhm.
And I was trying to maintain this, space of healing my cousin. We continued that pattern for 5 months when she finally gave up.
Mhm.
It just drained me. There was no self-care. There was nothing
Mm.
that I could do for her, and I wasn't taking care of me. I was exhausted. And
Mhm.
um, that was my first experience. And then the end of 2016, my dad became ill and ended up in the hospital. So,
Mm.
oh, I got to do this again. Okay, patient advocate. I know some of the doctors now. I know some of the terms now. We can get through this. But his health just declined really fast.
Mm.
And lost him in 2017. In 2017, then is when I became, kind of introduced to coaching, but it was for my technology teams and understanding how to work with them and communication and all that. um and that's kind of where the blend of coaching and then having gone through this experience of caregiving
Mhm.
kind of took shape, but I still didn't fully understand the self-care piece. I was just learning to start getting back to who I was after those experiences.
Mhm.
And in 2019, then we're back at it again. Now, this time I understood it's like, all right, I got to take care of me. I can't work a corporate job and help my brother through therapy, because he had a lot of therapy he had to go through to regain his cognitive functionality because
Mhm.
he had a series of mini strokes within a week because we didn't
Mm.
know he was actually having strokes.
Oh my.
So it impacted like 3 areas of his brain. He couldn't even tell you what the difference was between a strawberry and a tomato. You know, it was like it was really bad. Conversations and all that. So I gave up the corporate world and said, all right, let me just figure out how to work with him and take care of me this time. Because I was
Mhm.
getting older. It's like, I wasn't going to keep bouncing back if I kept down the path that I was on. It
Mhm.
wasn't going to work. So I took him into my home in 2019. And if I back up in 2018, I moved my mom closer to me so I could start managing her care because her memory after my dad's passing started to go. So that's my experience with caregiving. And my mom is still, her memory is still challenged, but I have learned with her, and I know with everybody it's different. With her, if I get her out and about on the weekends and get her excited about new things, I mean, it means walking through a nursery, or if she, or even using her scooter. If we go through like a nursery with lots of flowers and plants and trees, there's things to talk about. And it's that shiny object syndrome, from one weekend to the next, she doesn't remember ever going there. But
Mm.
it's a way to engage conversation. It's a way to get her outdoors. It's a way to get her thinking about fun, exciting things. And that I think is what's helping her, maintain that healthy attitude. It's like, all right, I get to go somewhere. I don't know where.
Which is great. I mean, I know I was doing that with my mother. She had Alzheimer's, and she was like the roses. She planted all these rose bushes up and down the front walk, worked in the garden with my father. And so if we went to the botanic gardens, we would just smell and feel, because she really at that point couldn't really communicate, but
Mhm.
just any way to get her out and have her enjoy the things that she enjoyed, like you're saying, just taking them wherever, just to give them
Mhm.
a change of pace.
Oh yeah, that I think has been a huge success in keeping her, moving forward and getting excited about life still. And she's 84, so and still doing well. And my brother, he's figured out his own thing with walking 6 miles a day, and he learned how to cook the Instapot meals.
Mhm.
So he does his own mix of experimenting with spices and things like that. And still staying vegan. He's afraid of meat because he had bad reaction to meat after the stroke. But
Oh,
yeah, it's he's on a healthy path and he's doing really well. So that every day I'm grateful for things like that, which is helpful.
yes, definitely. So tell us a little bit more about how this blends into your coaching, and then your self-care, and then what I've been finding just for myself, after I have worked with because my parents have since passed away, but just being grateful. So can you explain how you do self-care, and then how your caregiving um, merges with your coaching practice?
So after leaving the technology realm, I now had this coaching experience, and I continued to take coaching courses and learn more about coaching and learn more about helping others and serving my community. And in 2020, so my brother had a stroke in 2019, and I spent 6 months just making sure that he was on a path of healing. In the beginning of 2020, I decided to, start going back to my coaching and serving others, and becoming a life coach, not knowing that there was going to be a pandemic happening.
I know, isn't that always a great thing when
Right.
things change abruptly?
So then with the pandemic, then everybody's mental anguish appears, and there's challenges in the world.
Mhm.
But again, knowing that I need to take care of me, I didn't actually do a lot of coaching. I focused on my self-care. It's like I started, making sure that I walked every day, I exercised, I changed my diet and making sure that I ate right. Because I'm older than my brothers and they've both had health issues, and I'd like to stay healthy for as many years as I can. There's
Mhm.
nobody else around for me. So I have to think about me. So, and putting myself first. So I made sure that I was focused on self-care before I started really getting involved in helping others. And I follow some of the mental health organizations to get tips from them on how they're serving their clients, and making sure that, with so many people wanting therapists, and, coaching, there's a fine line. Coaching moves a person forward, and therapy kind of looks at, the health of a person going backwards.
Right.
But many people are struggling to get in to see a therapist, because I think in San Francisco, they were saying like they were 18 months backlog to talk to a therapist because there isn't enough of them. That's how bad
That's
it was during the pandemic. And we're still in it, but that's how bad it got. So then that's the reason why I became a trauma informed certified coach, because at least gave me some skill set to help people work through their trauma without really going too deeply into the backstory.
okay.
So trauma informed coaching allows me to hear some of that if a client wants to tell the backstory, but helps me pull that over into how do they move forward from there now.
That's wonderful. I think you have to move past that trauma at some point. And yes, I can see going back and reliving it could be a positive or a negative experience, but the person really needs to know how to move forward. So I like your approach.
And it really helped me with another traumatic event that I experienced in January 2021, when I lost my partner to a sudden heart attack. It's like I wasn't caregiving him. It was all of a sudden I came home and he was gone.
Oh my gosh, how
So
traumatizing that would be.
right.
Especially if the person didn't have any medical issues prior to that.
That one was totally unexpected. It was, he was gone. Then that changed my whole life. That's how I ended up moving 4 doors down from my mom. I got really, really lucky, and I'm very grateful that a house came on the market 4 doors down, because I had to suddenly move. My whole life changed in 2021.
Oh, no kidding. That would be so hard.
Yeah, but it opened up some doors and helped me understand even more how to help people that not only caregivers in what they were going through, because I had that experience, but also people that have experienced a traumatic event that is unexpected. You know, I've had that experience. I've gone through it. Now, understand, everybody goes through a totally different experience. Everybody has a different outcome from those experiences. You know, my experience is not going to be the same as everybody else's, but I have some level of empathy to help them figure things out.
Well, right. I mean, every caregiving journey is different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're still going to be overwhelmed and stressed and exhausted, but everybody has a unique story, like you're saying. And with all of your experience with your loved ones and just going through that traumatic loss like last January, definitely gives you a very personal way of looking at caregiving and looking at traumatic events from your lens. And I think that's so important for people to see it's a traumatic event through a different lens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's through all these experiences that I've learned the value of like my core values and what that means to me, that the value in setting boundaries and understanding that, okay, I know that I need to go do this. You know, my mom needs, you know, some level of care here, but I need to go and take an hour and go for a walk. You know, I need to breathe fresh air and get outdoors and, you know, look at the flowers or whatever is going on that day and really center myself. Because compassion is kindness. We always want to be compassionate and kind to our loved ones, our family, but we need to make sure that we're showing ourselves the same compassion and kindness, or we're trying to give from an empty tank. And all that does is discourage us, make us, you know, internally angry, drain the life and energy right out of us. And so those are things that now I help others rediscover so they can fill their tank and show themselves compassion before trying to give it all away to somebody else.
Oh, totally. If you don't have it yourself, you can't give it to somebody else, because like you said, you're going to be exhausted, you're going to be resentful, that your caregiving experience is not going to be as rewarding as it could be, and be less stressful. So I like the idea of how you combine both of those together to help people see that and say it's okay to look at yourself first so that, like you say, you can fill your tank to help someone else. I really appreciate that. Are there certain things that you would, in addition to self-care, recommend to caregivers to help them through this experience or some traumatic event associated with it? For example, like all these deaths from COVID.
Yeah, I would highly, highly recommend getting help, counseling, therapy, caregiving assistance. Now I have both my brothers, and, they do what they can to help me out. So I don't have to always be at my mom's, which is very beneficial.
Mhm.
So some level of assistance, friends, coaching. If somebody belongs to a company that offers like an employee assistance program that is made partner with like BetterUp or Modern Health or Lyra, and they offer like therapy and coaching, I highly recommend that they reach out. Their HR departments will have that information. A lot of times, I think my company, when I was still working, had that night. I didn't even think about it when I was going through the stuff that I went through,
Mhm.
because it isn't talked about. But, I highly recommend that people, reach out to their HR departments if they're working and find out what's available to them. And then I know I have some free samples out on my website of tapping into some self-care tools, journaling, um, tapping into creativity of coloring or painting or, writing poetry, anything that gets things out on paper so it's not,
Mhm.
bottled up inside. Um, Photography is another great way to, just get those energy juices of creativity out, because that helps.
Mhm.
You can go outside and talk to the birds. I know my birds are singing quite, crazy right now because of the sunshine.
Mhm.
Um, those are some of the things that I recommend. Um, and then, of course, sitting down and determining core values and, really looking at that, and then setting boundaries. We have to take care of ourselves first, or we're really not serving our family members and the other people as well as we could.
Thank you for those strategies and tips. Those are really helpful. I think, like you say, it's better to get it down, in a journal or in some creative process so that you can be more filled, so you can help someone else. You've talked about core values and setting boundaries. So could we talk a little bit more about the process that you went through and how that helps caregivers when they're going through their journey?
So I was not really following my core values initially. And all I did, I went out online and just kind of experimented and explored some core value tools that are out there,
Mm-hmm.
on different websites, just to kind of sit down. And some of them I already knew. I just didn't realize that I knew them. Family, huge core value. I'm very big on making sure that my family is, top priority. My faith is important to me because that also helps me stay grounded. My health is important. Community, because having that connection to friends and other coaches and people that, I can reach out to when I need somebody to talk to is important to me. So those are things that are very important to me. And not everybody is going to have the same core values. We're all different, but determining what those are helps us make a lot of our decisions. I know that if my friends want to go out, but my family needs me that day, I know deep down inside in my core, I'll feel it, that my family comes first.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to pay attention to that. But there may be times where it's like, well, my family doesn't need me tonight, and I need community tonight. So it helps me make those important decisions to make sure I'm taking care of me, but I've got everybody else covered in the way that they need to be covered. That makes sense.
Yes, it does. That's a great example. Setting boundaries. I know that's really hard, especially if you're caring for someone you don't have a really good relationship with, or this loving person that you're now caring for is really angry. There's like nothing you can do to make them feel any better. They're always seeming to attack the caregiver themselves. So what do you recommend in that situation?
Instances like that can be very, very difficult and challenging. And we still have to find a way to set our boundaries. I know it can be, challenging to tell somebody no who's always angry and all that. And that comes with some of the cognitive challenges that they may be facing.
Mm-hmm.
But even having a second caregiver or another caregiver partner. I know on one of your other podcasts, Gal mentioned caregiver partners.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's usually the caregivee and the caregiver, but even having another partner with the caregiver, if there's a lot of anger and animosity and challenges, then you still have to figure out, it's in your best interest to figure out how you can step back, recharge, and be able to serve that person, or you're really not serving them because all you're doing is depleting all your energy, which then goes into health issues of your own, which
Mm-hmm.
could land you in the hospital. And then who's going to take care of that person if you haven't already, figured out how to take care of yourself?
Great point. That's what really happens a lot of times. Caregivers spend so much time focused on the person that they're caring for that they do neglect their health. And it's pretty frightening that, 30% of caregivers die before the one that they care for. So that is not a really great statistic for caregivers. What I know, in a post on Facebook, I noticed that someone was being challenged because the rest of her siblings did not want to help her mother, and she felt like she had to take care of her mother, even though she did not have a good relationship with her. It's kind of what you've just mentioned, but is there a way for that person to take care of themselves so that they're in a better mindset to take care of someone that doesn't really like them?
Well, that comes back to whenever we feel like we have an obligation, but it's not something that we really want to do, then we're really, in a way, hurting ourselves. So knowing that, they already know that they don't have the help of siblings or other family members to take care of their mom. So their options, in my opinion, are to learn to accept that, if it means daily meditation, journaling the anger in a journal, get it all out so you're not taking it out on the person. And really showing that compassion, because again, the best way to serve our family members is through compassion. And then also finding a way to forgive and show that compassion to the siblings. I mean, I know that siblings a lot of times don't like to help, but it's also hard on them, and it's not something that they feel they could do as well. They sometimes feel that you are the only person that could really do it the way that their mom needs it. So there's a lot of fear in what siblings are experiencing, and that's the reason why a lot of times they don't come forward. So it's having those family meetings and being able to still stay connected in a positive way, knowing that it's never going to change, because that's the only way you're going to be able to, feel that positive energy within you. So, and that's what I've experienced. Now, my brothers initially would not help, and now they are willing to help. But I've never had that, sorry, I've never had that negativity about, oh, it's just me. It's, and even with my cousin, her own brother would not, even come visit her. I think he visited once in that 5 months, her stepdad once in 5 months. So it was up to me, and I had to make sure. It's like, yeah, I'm grateful if you guys can come and visit, but I know that I took on this responsibility. It was up to me. It was my decision, and I took on the responsibility, and that's the only way I could get through it.
That's really amazing, and so many great nuggets in terms of taking care of yourself, but also keeping that line of communication with siblings to let them know, you understand their situation, and come to the conclusion that they would have helped you if they felt like they could. And it's always a difficult situation to it's a fine line, I guess, to admit that your family can help you from afar, but
yes,
and can't help you directly take care of the person that you feel like you need to take care of. So when caregivers come to you, is this part of the Path to Discovery coaching plan that you have?
So I have various things on my website that are some free, some, paid, as far as ways to help caregivers. I now have a free workshop on how to, what's the value of your core values? Because a lot of times people go, core values, why do I need them? So I have a free workshop that kind of goes over the value of those core values, how they help with your decisions, how they help you set boundaries. And, that's, out on my website. Free tips and tricks about, tapping into your creativity, journaling. Gratitude is huge. If you can, have a daily gratitude journal, and making sure that you're showing yourself compassion and you're caring for yourself. I offer free discovery sessions. If somebody is sort of interested in coaching but not sure, free discovery session allows them to at least get an experience of it, find out if it's helpful. Coaching circles is another thing that I've started, because a lot of times with caregiving, and I've seen this quite often, is the friends drop away, the family members drop away. It's you against the world and the person you're taking care of. And the circles allow for people to connect with other people that are in that same situation, and gain wisdom of others, and not just the wisdom of a coach. So I call them wisdom circles. So it allows you to bring forth, challenges that you may have as a caregiver, and gain that wisdom of somebody else that may be experiencing. And I keep those are like 6 weeks long, and they're very structured in a way that the same people are in for the full 6 weeks, for confidentiality, safety, making sure that people have that no judgment, safe zone that they can go to. And those are just some of the things that I offer on my website.
I think that gives caregivers options to really investigate. And I like the idea of looking at core values. I like the idea of just talking with you to see if it is a good match between the two of you. I mean, you have a lot of wisdom, so you could definitely help them as a caregiver. And the wisdom circle sounds really pretty amazing. That's you're right. Caregivers find that people drop off. I know for my mother, her friends just didn't come around, and because they didn't know what to say or do for my mother because she had Alzheimer's and she toward the end couldn't communicate. So that is a huge struggle. And I like the idea that it's a safe zone for people to come and learn from other people and just listen to other people having similar experiences in their journey. I think that's wonderful that you offer all of those resources to caregivers. It's really needed because I think practicing gratitude needs to be up there with self-care as well. So
Definitely.
You've offered so much information, great information about your experiences and how it could transform other people's lives. So I really do appreciate you being on today. Are there any closing thoughts that you have for caregivers?
Just make sure that you take care of yourself. Fill that energy tank within, and be compassionate and kind to yourself so you can truly give to somebody else the compassion that they need.
Great advice. Thank you so much for being here. Caregivers really need to hear from people such as yourself who are still a caregiver, and you're, being able now to coach caregivers so that they can have a better caregiving journey. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary Elaine. It's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you. I hope that people take advantage of your website, The Path to Discovery, and take advantage of like your free coaching. Look at core values, being all those really great tips that you offered about journaling and being grateful. So thank you for all of those great nuggets today.
Thank you. Yes, it's fun, and I just enjoy helping people, and I want them to succeed. Not be part of that 30% that you mentioned.
Yes, I was really quite horrified at that statistic. And I think not only the caregiver needs to take care of themselves, but I think we as a country have to put those resources in place for people, because this is not an easy journey unless you've gone through it yourself.
Right.
You don't understand all the dynamics involved.
Right, exactly.
So you're helping with the mission, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I really appreciate everything that you do, Mary Elaine.
Thank you. You have the wisdom circles. I'm having a membership site so that people can get the resources that they need.
Okay.
Because it's so hard. I mean, caregivers don't have time looking through the internet for resources. So my goal is to have as many resources as possible so they can just go to one place.
Yeah, that's awesome and very much needed.
I think we are both on the same wavelength, and I think each of us will be in the fight for the caregiver, and I really appreciate it.
Yes, fight as long as we can.